Hey, it's me, and this is my hair. Um, this is my hair under the hair. Can I buy a wig or something? Hide it. I was wearing a hat all day. This is my earring. I only wear one. It makes me feel cool. Um, it's not a zit. It's just blood. But anyways, about your story. Okay. Ah. Hmm. I'm sorry. I didn't sleep well last night. Alright. It's gonna be about a boy, a cat, a turtle, and some clouds. So once there was a boy, fairly little boy, who lived with his mom. And he used to lay in the grass and watch the clouds all day. And he'd always ask his mom, he'd be like, "Mom, what are the clouds made out of?" She'd be like, "I don't know." He'd shake his head. Be like, "One day I'll find out. And I'll get you a jar of cloud." She said, "Alright." The years rolled by, and the boy forgot about his promise. After several years, he lay down in the grass again, and he watched the clouds. He's much older now, so he called his mom. He's like, "Mom, what are clouds made out of?" She said, "I don't remember." So he remembered his promise, and he set out on a quest to find out what clouds were made out of, and to get his mom a jar of cloud. He spent days and nights walking over hills just to be lost, senseless. Soon, after wandering in emptiness, he saw a big fluffy cat. The cat said, "Dear boy, you look lost." And he sighed, and he nodded his head. He said, "I'm afraid so." The cat smiled wide and chuckled. He said, "Dear boy, I know the way." The boy replied with, "Could you lead me? I will return the kind favor." The cat said, "Alright, just keep in mind the promise you made." So the boy agreed and nodded, and soon he was following the cats through the hills. Upon the hills, they found on a beach a giant turtle. The turtle said, "I'm afraid you can't swim out there tonight. It's bad currents." And the boy sighed, and he looked at the cat. The cat looked at him. And they were puzzled. The boy came up to the turtle, said, "Please, turtle, could we fancy a ride on your back?" And the turtle said, "Of course, but I would like a favor in return." The boy said, "Alright, I'll grant you your favor." The turtle said, "Alright, don't forget this promise." The boy said, "Okay." Soon they were traveling through the waters, the cat, the boy, the turtle. They were traveling through the waters when the wind stirred up and a giant whale emerged from the water. The whale said, you guys look delicious. The boy said, please don't eat us. The whale said, alright, what are you doing in these waters? The boy told the story of the turtle, of the cat, and of the clouds. And the whale laughed and laughed and laughed. He said, dear boy, I know what clouds are made of. I hear about it all the time. So in excitement, the boy listened closely. The whale said, I've heard many birds talking about clouds being made of fluff. And the boy looked at the whale. He said, what's fluff? The whale said, according to the birds, fluff is a little piece of happiness everybody has. That when they smile, it goes up into the sky, and there are enough smiles to form a cloud. The boy asked the whale, do you think I could get some in a jar? The whale said, well, I don't know a bird that'll fly high enough to take you, but there is a fairly large hill, and I'm sure if you tried your hardest, you could get it in your jar. So the boy thanked the whale, and he set out way to the hill. He dropped off the turtle on the bay, and him and the cat jumped off. Soon they were all walking through the hills again, until they reached the tallest one. He had only one jar, one little jar, to fill his cloud. So he reached the hill. He got on his tippy toes. He tried his hardest and his hardest, but he couldn't reach it. So the cat came up to him. He said, pick me up. And the boy's like, alright. He picked the cat up. The cat hung onto the cloud, climbed its way up the cloud. And the boy said, what's it feel like? And the cat said, it's really soft, and it feels warm. And the boy said, do you think I could get any in my jar? And the cat said, yes, yes, of course. So the cat tilted the cloud closer to the boy. The boy gently scooped in little bits of fluff in his jar. And he smiled and he thanked the cat. The cat said, now I have a favor. The boy nodded. He's like, yes, I did promise you one earlier. The cat said, leave me on this cloud. And the boy nodded. He says, is that your wish? The cat said, yes, just leave me on this cloud. And the boy agreed to. He said, alright. So him and the turtle walked back down the hills, back to the shore. And he walked slowly past the whale, and they swam in the water. And the boy asked, are the clouds in the water the same as in the sky? The turtle looked down, and he nodded. He's like, look, the cloud looks like our friend Cat, both in the water and in the sky. The boy studied the cloud, and he smiled and nodded, and he said, yes, yes, that looks like our friend the cat. And the turtle frowned. And the boy's like, what's wrong, turtle? It's like, I wish to be in the clouds. And the boy smiled. He said, alright, I'll find a way to get you in the clouds. The tortoise smiled and he said, really? The boy said, yes. He said, if the clouds are the same in the water as they are in the sky, then all you have to do is sink low enough to turn into your cloud. The turtle smiled and said, alright. He left the boy on shore, and then he slowly sank to the bottom of the water. The boy smiled and waved goodbye. So on his journey back home through the hills, he came to his mother's door and knocked. She opened and smiled at him and said, "Dear boy, where have you been?" He smiled and gave her the jar. She said, "Oh, this is delightful." She said, "Did you ever figure out what they were made out of?" The boy smiled and nodded, and he said, "Mom, they're made out of smiles." She's a bit confused, but she smiled and accepted the jar and put it on the top shelf. And even now, the boy is much older. He still lays in the grass, and he sees his friend the turtle and the cat in the sky every time there's a cloud. Okay, that's my story. It's really long. Sorry. It's my boss. I hope she doesn't fire me. Alright, so that's my story. It's my hair.